Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in Peckville, Pennsylvania, and I am right here on this station every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. to bring you, the Pennsylvania landowner, the valuable information that you need regarding natural gas development in Pennsylvania. And I want to remind you that I, Doug Clark, at the Clark Law Firm, represent landowners, gas right owners. I do not, have not, and will not ever represent a gas or pipeline company. I am here to help represent, assist, do whatever I can on behalf of the Pennsylvania landowner to even the field and to stop seeing Pennsylvania landowners and gas right holders being taken advantage of. We want to enter into fair agreements, and there are fair agreements out there. It's what we do. So we want to make sure that we're evening the playing field and we're getting you good agreements, the best possible agreements for your situation. Now, I'm gonna talk later on in the show. I am going to talk about deductions. So stick with that, because I don't care if you're getting royalties, you're thinking about a lease, no matter where you are, you're going to find this interesting. I've pulled a couple checks from clients that sent in just as some samples, literally pulled them randomly. I'm going to talk about some deductions and what to expect, or what we see with regard to royalties with deductions and the impact of these deductions for post-production costs, what they can have on you, the landowner. So before I do that, I got started, look, we want to even this playing field. So I'm going to tell a little, well, let me say it this way. A couple things. Stop signing bad agreements. Let's all stop signing bad agreements. And in fact, put your pen down and get good information. I've talked a lot about reviews and consultations. I think it's an excellent service that we do. Usually takes an hour or two, so it's not a great investment for you as the landowner. And I can't think of a case where we've done a review and consultation, whether in person. I do a lot of them by telephone for people located all across Pennsylvania and in other parts of the country. And I can't think of a case where we did a review and consultation when a landowner said, boy, I wish I didn't do that. Quite the contrary. We routinely get extremely positive feedback from these reviews and consultations, and I can tell you that I have seen these reviews and consultations make landowners literally combined hundreds of thousands into the millions of dollars more than what was offered, and also landowners who didn't want to enter into agreements learned of their rights and elected not to do so, or negotiated, or I negotiated, or they negotiated for significantly higher compensation, much better terms or language in the agreement. And as a shocking surprise to all the listeners out there, my experience is the company Landman, the landmen aren't telling you what you, in my opinion, really need to know from the landowner side. Of course, why would they? Their job is not to represent you, the landowner. I joke, I say, ask them to pull out their business card, and you're not going to see your name on it. You won't see any landowner's name on it. You'll see their land service company or the company they're representing. You'll see their name on it, not yours. Why? Because the landman works for the company, not you, the landowner. And again, it's okay. That's their job. We know it. So what do we need to do? We need to be educated, informed, and make the best decisions that we can. Something that's happening, there's a few things. I'm going to go rattle a couple of things here. Number one, if you receive something in the mail from a gas or pipeline company asking you to sign it and return that document in the self-addressed stamped envelope enclosed for your convenience, I would not just simply do that. I would contact somebody who knows and understands. You can call us. You can call anybody. Well, call somebody who knows and understands this, who can help you. People are signing these documents that are being sent to them in the mail And honestly, it's baffling to me. It's just baffling to me. And what we do, so here's what happens. Somebody gets something in the mail and they say to me, or they call our office and said, hey, for example, Cabot in Susquehanna County has recently sent out mass amount of letters to people saying, hey, we want to extend these units. We want you to sign this document to allow us to drill these much bigger units. And of course, they're going to throw in there the benefit of the less environmental footprint, which, hey, that's not bad. But the question is, what is the cost to you, the landowner? So most people, and I've talked to many people about this, have no idea what the document even means. And it scares me that there's a bunch of people that just sign whatever's sent to them in hopes that they're going to see future riches or future royalties sooner, and they just sign and return it without ever understanding what the document is. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this specific document, but I'm going to say that if you get something in the mail and it says, hey, sign this, get it notarized even, and then send it back to us. My heavens. You're talking, look, any of these documents. But if they're saying, hey, you have to get this notarized, that's a sign, hey, this is an important document. But they're all important. They're all important. But if you're asked to notarize and return, or asked to just sign and return, please get some help. Get some advice. Understand what it is. People are just signing and they're regretting this and they're making mistakes. You should not, in my opinion, simply sign a document that's sent to you in the mail and then say, hey, sign it, return it to us. You should say, wait a second, I need to figure this out. I need to know what it is and need to make sure that it is in my best interest to sign it. Maybe I don't have to. Maybe I can negotiate. Maybe I can do a lot of interesting things here, or simply say, hey, I don't want to do it. So get his advice. Just don't sign and return documents that are sent to you in the mail. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, you can always call us 570-307-0702. That's 570-307-0702. Whether you're looking for review and consultation or any representation regarding oil and gas development in Pennsylvania, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you and love to help you. Okay, so got a little commercial there, but it's just, I get frustrated. This was a frustrating week. And I'm going to get into the next story here, and next thing. I said, number one, please don't just sign documents sent to you in the mail and return them to the company. You have to scrutinize them. You have to get assistance. You really do. You have to understand it. You have to understand it. I've seen people, one guy that comes to my mind all the time, where if he had called me before he signed and sent in the document, now this was years ago, I had another client that I represented in this gentleman's close proximity, and this gentleman was sent something in the mail to sign, and actually what it was in this case, it didn't allow for drilling to the Marcellus formation. So he was sent this. He lived in Alaska at the time. He was sent the document, signed it, turned it in, sent it in. Simultaneously, at the same time, I had been representing a landowner in his township, in his area, and had this gentleman in Alaska not simply signed what was sent to him, simply signed it, sent it back in. Had he not done that, I anticipate that we could have, without effort, had an agreement for him in excess of $5 million. $5 million. He had a lot of acreage, but if he would have got the same per acre price as another gentleman in his area at the same time, his payment would have been in excess of $5 million. Now, this is an extreme example. People don't talk about examples where, hey, we saved the guy a couple $100. That happens all the time too, or happens frequently. I don't want to say all the time. That happens as well, in tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even into less than $5 million. But in this particular case, had the gentleman picked up the phone and called before he signed, got the document notarized, and returned it in the very convenient self-addressed envelope to the company, he probably would have entered into a new lease to allow access to Marcellus and probably received a bonus in excess of $5 million. Oops. So getting fired up, I hit the microphone. So my point is, now look, that's an extreme example, but there are many examples, and I'm going to talk now. I'm going to shift gears and give you a couple other examples. Now, this guy was one who signed, it was sent to the mail. Unfortunately, after he sent it in, he started saying, I'm not sure if I should have done that. Then he called, then we talked, and I said to him, thank heavens you called, because God, I'm glad I got to you before you sent that in. And then he later discloses, well, I actually did send it in. I just called because I wanted to make sure I didn't make a mistake. And unfortunately, that's a really bad conversation. You feel horrible for this gentleman who probably just lost out on excess of $5 million because he called after he sent the document in. Again, we're nowhere near always looking at $5 million, but we look at these, we see this all the time. I'm going to tell you some other story. Okay, here, I'll do my little teaser lead in to the break. Here's my other next thing. Beware of landmen bearing maps. Beware of landmen bearing maps. I'm going to explain what I mean by that when we get back from this break. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am here with you every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. with All Things Marcellus to bring you the information you need regarding natural gas development. And if you're looking for a review, consultation, or any representation related in any way to oil and gas development in Pennsylvania, give us a call, 570-307-0702. Remember, I represent landowners and only landowners. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, I'm here with you every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. on this station. You can always call the office, 570-307-0702, 570-307-0702. Okay, I started off, I didn't do my little, I kind of broke on my intro. So I just want to let everyone know again, I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it. I do not, have not, and will not represent a pipeline or gas company. Will not do it. Will not do it. I keep saying it. I'm going to continue to say it. These recordings are available. Go check out pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. They could hand me $1 million contract tomorrow, and I would not do it. And I mean that. I mean it. So if any company wants to do it, please send me one. I will make a photocopy, put it online, and show everyone how I refuse to do it. It's not what I want to do. I want to represent people. I want to help people. Not that there's anything wrong with being on the other side, but there are two sides. And I've chosen this one proudly. And for me, it's not a choice. It's the only thing I ever would do. But we just need to know that there are two sides. And the other side has a lot of money, have a lot of lawyers, have a lot of money to spend on lawyers. We need to even that playing field. I come, as you'll hear me say on occasion, my father, steelworker, farmer. His father, steelworker, farmer. Father before that, my great-grandfather, farmer, I think steelworker also, but certainly a farmer. So that's where I come from, and that's what I like to do. And those are the people that I want to represent and I want to help. So, represent people, oil and gas lease negotiations, reviews and consultations, pipeline right-of-way agreement, reviews, consultations. We do negotiations. I'm doing a lot of work with these FERC projects, eminent domain. I think we've easily negotiated, consulted, worked on easily now pipeline agreements with over 60 different companies in Pennsylvania. So I say that to give you a perspective of the information that's out there and the knowledge base that we can look at, or the base we can draw and we can look at and say, hey, what's right for you? What can we do here? I just had a client the other day, or within the last few weeks, sign a pipeline right-of-way agreement for compensation that I never thought it was even possible. So we need to make sure that we are maximizing your agreement, and it's not occurring. Guys, it's not occurring. So, what the heck? I'm going to say it one more time. Look, if you have an agreement presented to you, pick up the phone, call, learn, if nothing else. Look, it doesn't cost anything to call the office and say, hey, I hear this Doug Clark. I hear Doug talking on the radio about reviews and consultations. Can you tell me about that service? Or whatever else you may be interested in. But learn about it and see if it's right for you. I know a lot of people are afraid to call law offices, or intimidated, whatever the purpose or whatever the reasoning may be. Don't be. Give us a call, 570-307-0702, 570-307-0702. I say it because I want to get you the information. I really, really do want to help you. So, okay. All right. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark. Here we go. So, long intro there, but my tease from the last segment was, hey, look, beware of landmen carrying maps or bearing maps. What does that mean? Well, I've talked about this a couple months ago, and I got at least 3 occasions that I can reference where a landowner has signed a pipeline right-of-way agreement with a map attached showing where the pipeline easement was going to be located under the agreement. Now, landowners, if you are signing a pipeline right-of-way agreement without a map attached, and without the necessary language saying that the company has to operate in that area. But if you're signing an agreement without a map attached, in my opinion, you are making a colossal and enormous, some people may say, huge mistake. Huge mistake. Can't do it. Can't do it. And if you're signing an agreement that doesn't have a map, that's telling me you're also signing an agreement that has all kinds of other company benefits built into the document. All kinds. So just this week, gentleman comes in. I talked to this gentleman, and unfortunately, I talked to him after he signed the map. Again, I wish I did, but I don't have a time machine. We can't go back in time. Don't have one here. If you have one, please call 570-307-0702. But I don't. So we need to talk to you before you sign the document. Please, we need to talk to you before. So what happens is, and I'm going to kind of blend these 3 stories into one, but it's the same general scenario. Back in 2013, 2014, landowner signs a pipeline right-of-way agreement, and it has a map attached saying here's where the route is going to go. Now, again, you got to be really careful because there's a lot of built-in loopholes saying here's where the route's going to go, but if we have any issues, we can change it and put it wherever we want. You got to be careful. In these cases, though, these agreements, the company wasn't comfortable with saying, well, we're going to scrap this route and go somewhere totally different, and we feel that we have the right under this existing pipeline right-of-way agreement. So they didn't feel comfortable doing that. So what do? They go out to the landowner bearing a map. They have a map. And this map that they have, it shows the pipeline. It's a new map with the pipeline and the easement in a totally different location, in a completely different location than what the landowner had agreed to in around 2013 or 14. Well, why is the landman coming with just the map? Well, because he or she wants you, the landowner, to sign the map, just initial the map and say, yes, I approve of this location change. Well, what they're going to do then is take that map and use it to replace the map that was in your original agreement or attached to your original agreement. So let's say you agreed to a pipeline on the western side of your property. Well, in 2013, 2014, the company now realizes, hey, it doesn't work for us to put it there. We need to put it, say, on the eastern side or any other place. And so they come out to you and they have a new map. Well, that should tell you, really, the situation is you have no original agreement if the company cannot install the line where you previously agreed to it being located. So let me back that up. So you agree that they can put a pipeline on the western side of your property. They, for some reason, aren't able to do that. Construction issues, permitting issues, whatever the case may be. They need to put it in a different area. So if they're coming to you and they only have a map, what that's telling you is probably, very probably, that old agreement you signed, it has no value unless you sign this new map. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So what do I mean then? Well, if you sign the new map, the company will take the map from the first set of documents that you signed, from the first right-of-way agreement. They'll literally take the map that was with the first document, pull it out, detach it, rip it up, and replace it with the new map that you just signed. The important thing is that all the terms from the original agreement that you signed, all of those terms are going to still apply, but now you have a new map. You may say, well, hey, I entered into this agreement in 2013, 2014, and, hey, what's the difference if I'm okay with this location? I'm okay with it. Well, there's a lot that, it's up to you, I guess, too, in some ways. If you don't care about anything, you don't care about anything. But most people care. They're just not informed. So we need to make sure that you're being informed. So what do I mean here? So, okay, you sign in 2013, 2014. And especially if you didn't have an attorney. If you did have an attorney and he or she wasn't a good attorney, there's a strong chance that you didn't maximize the opportunity that you had in 2013 or 2014 or whenever you signed the previous right-of-way agreement. So now you are getting that rare second bite of the apple because really they don't have an agreement they can use unless you sign a new map, which means start from scratch. Start from scratch. Not, oh, wow, here's this lawyer. He wants to get a bunch of business. He wants to make money, bill people. No. Here's the deal. One of these people had an agreement that they didn't have a lawyer, and their agreement was it's a form agreement. So if you don't have any addendum terms and you're going to get paid the bare bones basic minimum price that the company ever offers, well, you've just guaranteed that yet again, where had you called me beforehand or somebody who knew what they were doing, I can't speak for everybody, but I can say for me that I know with this particular company that we usually add several pages of additional language to the agreement that is very beneficial to the landowner. Also, in most of these, well, actually in all of these cases, had the landowner came to me first, and one of these cases, the landowner did come first, and that landowner made more money, significantly more money, than if they would have just signed the map. Other two landowners simply signed the map and probably cost themselves easily, well, if I'm right, and I think I am, probably cost themselves tens of thousands of dollars and potentially hundreds of thousands, literally, potentially over $100,000. And the problem is they just, said, well, okay, we're going to sign, and they didn't understand. And we could have negotiated for more money. Markets change. I know, in the one company, I know that we could have just for signing, I'm very confident based on past history, a couple thousand, 2,000, 3,000, up to 5,000. We probably could have got the person just for signing, and would have told that person that during the first phone call. I would have said, hey, put the pen down. Here's what I think we can do based upon prior experiences. Oh, and by the way, the company has no authority to install this line unless you sign this agreement, or in your case, sign this map. And you really have a nice potential here to negotiate for higher compensation. And I've seen this scenario in the past, and we've done very well in many times doubling or tripling or even more to the compensation. Now, I may call and say, hey, look, this is not something that we have much leverage with, and here's what we should do. But we look at whatever that circumstance is. But in this case, we had people signing maps without communicating and literally failing to observe that they were getting, or understanding that they were getting, a second bite of the apple, another opportunity to correct the uninformed mistake or the mistakes that you made previously because you were uninformed. So let's get the information. And that's why when I say, I've worked on agreements involving over 60 different pipeline companies to say, look, that's the type of information you need before you exercise or before you sign the map. Before you sign the map, not afterwards. And say, hey, thankfully, I love this call. When I talk to someone, say, I'm so glad that you called me because I really think we can do a lot of good for you here, and I think we can really help you. And I get to have that call quite often. But on the flip side, I hate having that call or that conversation with somebody saying, well, I wish you would have called me before because I think we could have done a lot of good for you here. Don't wait until after. Don't just sign a map. I get this a lot. Well, the guy, the Landman, he was a really nice guy. Well, as a general rule, they don't send guys out there who are going to be jerks. Just generally don't do that. They send nice guys. That's you get more flies with honey. So that's what you find a lot of times. So don't just sign maps. Get information. Don't just sign stuff sent in the mail. Don't just sign maps. Get information. Take advantage of the information that's out there. We can learn from others' mistakes. We can learn from our own mistakes, and we can use that information to maximize whatever that it is that you have presented to you at this time. So I'll just finish with this. So here's an example. So Landman comes to your door, has a map, says, hey, I want you to sign the map. You're a listener. You say, well, okay, let me hear all this stuff. Fine, please leave me the map. And you're going to have no pens in your hand, and you're going to say, I'll think about it. And perhaps, let's say in this hypothetical, you say, I listen to that guy on the radio. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. I'm going to give a call, and I'm going to find out about this review and consultation. Call the office, you'll speak with Marcia, she'll explain everything to you, and let's say you decide, hey, okay, I want to do this. So in this case, we're probably talking an hour or two of time, depending upon how complex it is. In this case, probably more towards the hour. And look at your old agreement, look at what your rights are, and have this conversation, and use one of these examples. The conversation goes like this: hey, look, company has no right in the world to do this. Your old agreement is essentially worthless to them. So you can renegotiate at this time, which means your old agreement that you signed a forum agreement for the lowest possible compensation. I am very, very, very confident. I'm very confident that we can make the language of this agreement significantly better for you, significantly better. In every case I've ever worked on that I can recall, every client signed a much better agreement, certainly a better, in most cases, much better agreement than what they were presented with when we negotiated it. Or at the same time, you can negotiate for additional compensation. And if they're coming to you for a map change, and we'll talk about why, if they're coming to you with a map change, most likely you have more leverage and negotiation power than you're possibly thinking, because they've now probably solidified more what they want to do, which makes your property more valuable. So you are not only getting a second bite of the apple, but you're getting a second bite of the apple, but this apple might be bigger and juicier. So you have an opportunity here. So let's talk about what you can do. And then we talk about that. And then you can decide. Some people want to be more aggressive. Some people want to be less aggressive. I try to offer suggestions and advice. But you as the landowner and you as the client, you make the decisions. You listen to the advice. You listen to suggestions, possibly even recommendations, but you make the decision. And in these cases, in this example, I think that the person who called is going to, in most cases, make more money. And that isn't say, oh, call me, make more money. I'm just saying the reality of it is that you probably are in a position to negotiate for more money in this scenario. And certainly you're in a position to negotiate much better, more favorable landowner language. So beware of landmen carrying maps. Don't just sign a map, in my opinion, not specific legal advice for any specific person, but I wouldn't sign a map. I would call, whether you call me, call somebody else, call. Understand, get your rights, understand your leverage. Don't call, well, you can call afterwards. It's never too late to stop the bleeding, but let's stop the bleeding now, not after you sign the document. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. You can call the office, 570-307-0702, 570-307-0702. You can listen to this show on pagasleaseattorney.com or pipelineattorney.com Monday morning, as well as I've been doing a show since 2010, All Things Marcellus since 2010. Go check it out. You can listen to many, many shows on the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, join me right here every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. right here in this station. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. We're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, unfortunately, is deductions. Deductions from landowner royalty checks. It's a big deal. It is a real big deal. And what I'm going to do, just to give you an example, I do this every once in a while. I have clients and we're involved in multiple litigation cases against companies for inappropriate calculation of royalties, deduction of royalties, and through cases, you learn a lot too. You have access to information that you wouldn't otherwise have, and we learn a lot. So again, that's other information is brought to the table when we have these discussions. When Landman comes out and says, "Oh, deductions are about 1 to 2%," say, "Okay, fine. Let's put that in the document. Let's say that we'll put a cap at deductions then at 5%. You say they're 1 or 2. Let's put it at 5. My heavens, let's put it at 10. Let's put it at 20. Let's put a cap. Let's put a cap. Well, I don't know about that." So, look, anyone can say anything. I mean, you can almost say anything. It's freedom of speech. You can almost say anything. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it true. Doesn't make it accurate. But, hey, you can say it. So what do I do? What do we do here? So I yanked a couple checks. Here's one I'm looking at. For production, and listen, these are random. This isn't like something I could have went in and picked out worse. If specifically, well, I don't even have them, but I could talk about the landowners who literally are having their gas being sold and not getting a dime, not getting a penny of royalty because the deductions are equal to or greater than what the royalty would be. So if they sell the gas at $1, the deductions are either $1 or more, and so therefore the landowner receives no royalty check. Well, I'm certainly not a math wizard, but I do know this. If I have gas being sold and I'm not getting a royalty check because the deductions equal or greater than what the revenue is, well, then those deductions are 100%, not 1 or 2%. They're 100% of what my royalty payment would be, not 1 or 2. So when you forgive me, when you tell me the deductions are going to be 1 or 2 or 2.5%, forgive me, because I'm going to tell you this. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And it's not because I'm a jerk. It's because I have seen thousands of royalty checks. And for example, one right here. So here we go. And just picking up a check. So this one is from production of August 2016. Well, look here too. There's 2 wells on this. So this landowner royalty total is $132.57. Now I'm going to get rid of the 57 cents. We'll make this a little easier to follow. So the gross royalty for this month for production in August of 2016. This month was the gross $132. Well, what did the landowner take home? What was their net? Well, of the $132 gross, there was $7.41 deducted for compression. There was 94 cents added due to a fuel loss, but deductions, $7.41 for compression, $37.98 for gathering, so almost $38, Then transportation deduction, $52.07. So, to make this simple, the gross royalty in this 1 month would have been $132. Now remember, everyone has different amounts of acres, and this isn't an enormous acreage parcel. But this person had a gross royalty of $132, but their lease allowed for deductions. So if their lease did not allow for deductions in this particular month, this landowner would have taken home $132. But their lease allowed for deductions. Well, what did those deductions total? I just went through them, but what did you take home? $36.05. So of gross, so if you had a lease that didn't allow for deductions in this month, you would have taken home $132.57. But this lease allowed for deductions, so instead of taking home $132, you take home $36. 36. So think about that. 1 or 2% of $132. So what's that equal? 26 bucks. So you should clear certainly over. You should certainly clear over $100. Well, no. Out of $132.57, this landowner, after deductions, took home $36.05. That's pretty substantial. You need to be aware of that. Just real quick, let's say this landowner had, to give a different perspective, let's say that this, there was, instead, we'll just use the same numbers, times it by 10. Say that instead of $132, that the gross was $1,320. Out of 100 or 1,320, if we times this out and make it all even, that landowner would have taken home, instead of $36, $360. And I do this just to give some perspective. Let me repeat that. So the real actual check here says gross $132.57. Take home after deductions only $36.05. If this landowner had 10 times the acreage, and we times this by 10 to give some perspective, the gross would have been $1,320, and the landowner would have taken home $360 out of $1,320. My point is, deductions can be very substantial. This is, again, something I just yanked at random today before doing the show. But again, we can talk about people who literally have deductions and aren't receiving any royalty checks whatsoever. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Join me right here every weekend, 8 to 9 a.m. for the information that you need regarding gas development here in Pennsylvania. Okay, let's grab another check. So look, grabbing checks here, not going and finding, hey, this one says this one, grabbing checks, randomly grabbing checks. Here's another check. So this one is from production for July. This is July. Actually, it looks like maybe it's June, July. But whether it's 1 month, 2 months, not a big deal. What matters is we're looking at what is the gross, what is the net. So randomly yanking a check from a pile of checks that I have sitting on my corner of my desk. Okay, this month, the landowner's gross payment was, gross would have been $309.50 in this month. So $309.50. Compression deducted from that was $15.92. Now here we had a big fuel loss added in, $16.49. Gathering deduction, $81.71. Transportation deduction, $126.55. So of the $309.50, which is what you would get if you had a lease that said no deductions, $309.50, this landowner actually took home or received a check for $101.81. So out of $309, they took home $101. So there is, roughly about $208 in deductions and $101 in take home. Far cry from 1 or 2 or 3%, isn't it? Far cry. So when they say, oh yeah, deductions they're only 1, 2, 3% of your check, oh gosh, it drives me crazy. Say, oh, that's great. That's wonderful news. Let's just put that in part of the agreement. Let's add to the addendum that in no case will deductions exceed. And if they're saying 1 or 2 or 3%, say 5%, say 10%. Charge me real deductions or nothing higher than 25%. You know, when I see these checks, you'd be so better off if you had nothing higher than 50%. Real charges or no higher than such and such percent. They won't do it. They won't do it. And I'll tell you, the guy who's making a statement, girl making a statement, whoever it may be, if anyone's making a statement, and you know, maybe somebody made it to you, if they say, hey, deductions are only 1, 2, 3%, they're either lying or they don't know. That's my belief. They're lying to you or they don't know. All right. We're up against it again here. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, you can learn about the review and consultation services if you have an agreement. I'm sorry I'm getting more and more commercial, but it's just, I can't, the calls after people sign, call before, learn about, you have an agreement, get a review and consultation. And in many cases, that's all we do. Other cases, Landman says, hey, this is really insightful. Here's what we want to do. We want to get a plan together and how you can handle this and what's best for you going forward. So give us a call, learn about it. There's no fee to learn about the service. 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. Look, go to the websites, read the testimonials, learn what we do. We are here to help you. We want to hear from you. We want to help you. I am Attorney Doug Clark. This is All Things Marcellus. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Real quick, remember, I've been doing All Things Marcellus since August of 2010. So really encourage you, go check out pagasleaseattorney.com. Go check out pipelineattorney.com. Whether you're looking for information or you're looking to do some research, hey, what's the story with this guy? Do I maybe want to call him? Or you just want information? Go check out pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Go check out the prior radio shows available on the website. Today's show will be up on Monday morning. You can go to pagasleaseattorney.com or pipelineattorney.com and listen to today's show. Maybe you have pipeline issues. Go back, listen to pipeline shows. Maybe you're considering selling your oil and gas rights. Please go back and listen to those shows. With anything, before you put pen to paper, make sure that you're getting legal advice from somebody who knows what they're doing and somebody that's there to help you, not somebody representing the company. You need somebody there to help you. So I encourage you, go check out pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Give us a call, 570-307-0702. So, okay, talking about deductions. I'm obligated also, these deductions are a big deal. And we have had many, many, many clients enter into leases where deductions are not being taken. We have had many clients enter into leases where deductions are being taken. The key is to negotiate in every way possible to eliminate deductions being taken, or knowingly either enter into an agreement that's going to allow for deductions, understand what those deductions are going to, like how they're going to apply. We don't have specific numbers, but we want to understand what we may expect, and then you make a decision. Look, compensation, bonus compensation, that's real easy to figure out. So if you have a lease presented to you and you're going to get $500,000, I'm making up numbers, $1 million. If you're going to get that, you say, well, yeah, I'm going to get killed in deductions. I'm going to get killed because the company is going to use a very bad royalty calculation method and it's going to really eat into future royalties. But boy, that $500,000 check, that $1 million check, that whatever dollar check is pretty attractive. So I'm willing to forego potentially larger royalties in the future and go ahead and do this deal. And that may be reasonable for you. That may be reasonable. Now, you may also say, you know what? This idea of having these tremendous deductions taken for the lifetime of my lease, maybe 50 or 100 years, I'm not really comfortable in signing an agreement that's going to allow that to occur. And if you're telling me, oh, we don't do royalties without deductions, well, if you're telling me that, then you're not going to sign me. I'm not going to do that. But again, cannot say this is enough. No show, and this is not legal advice for any person whatsoever. You need specific advice. This is general discussion and talking. You need to be careful if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to wait. You need to understand what you risk by waiting. You need to do a risk-benefit analysis, but in order to do an appropriate risk-benefit analysis, you by nature must understand the risks that you would be taking, and you must understand the benefits that may be obtained by waiting. And a lot of people are waiting. A lot of people are signing. It depends on your situation. You can't just simply rely on what your neighbor or somebody else is doing. You need specific advice. I saw some copycat stuff out there in the internet I thought was pretty funny. And it talks about, well, leasing today, there's not really this open leasing. And that's it's fairly true. So what that means, what I'm saying is, leasing today is much more of a science, if you will. You need to understand and you need to have more detailed knowledge. It's not like when you had Landman from 5 different companies come knock on your door and you just say, okay, who's the best? Who's the best? Where's the most money? Where's the most money? No, now we need to use knowledge and information. We have that. We can use that to weigh whatever the factors are that we can obtain to make the right decision for you. And that right decision for you may be to go ahead and sign. It may be to negotiate to try to improve this. It may be, hey, look, if you're not going to offer me royalties without deductions, I'm not going to sign. So if that changes, here's my telephone number. Otherwise, I'm not interested. Now, you got to be careful. Again, none of these are advice for you, but these are different options of what to do. But you can't make an informed decision if you don't have the proper information. In my opinion, I wouldn't be relying on the company Landman to provide me that information, because why? Well, the company Landman, as we know, works for the company, not you, the landowner. We got to remember that. So we need to get you the information that you need to understand, if I don't do this, what are my risks and what am I looking for as a potential benefit? And you may decide, and I have these conversations with people all the time. Some say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and wait. I understand the risk, I understand the benefits, and I find that the risks I'm willing to take because I think the benefits outweigh this risk. Other people may say, hey, look, no, that's not how I feel, and I want to go ahead and negotiate this, make it as good as I can, and go ahead and move forward. And we do that as well. It's not, and there's never any judgment. You do what you want to do, but you got to have that information. And that's why, maybe the last time today, I talk about reviews and consultations. Get that information, become informed, and you're going to be better for it. I know that you are. You're going to be better for it. So again, you're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark. You can call anytime, reviews, consultations, learn about them before you sign. 570-307-0702, 570-307-0702. Once again, I have clients all across Pennsylvania. Many current clients in Tioga County, in that region, Susquehanna, Bradford, southwestern Pennsylvania, Allegheny, all clients all across Pennsylvania. So don't worry about distance. We do these by telephone. You're always invited to the office, but do them by telephone all the time. So give us a buzz, 570-307-0702. Learn about that. All right, switching gears again. I want to go back to, we're going to finish back with this royalty statement. So here I picked this. Here's another one. I like this one because this one gives us the year-to-date totals on the check. You may remember, I'm not going to go too far into this, but this company actually even calls the deductions, they call them market enhancement fees. So what they're saying is you have one of those provisions that says no deductions to make the gas marketable. Anything once the gas becomes in a marketable form can be deducted. Well, if you have that, this company's going to call those things market enhancements and deduct from the moment that gas moves from the well pad. That is going to be enhancement, which in other words would be deducted from your statement. Anyway, I've done shows on that. We're not going to do that right now. What we're going to talk about is this check. So this check is for production of August 2016, and this particular let's do it this way because we're short on time. We'll have a year to date. This company shows you what the gross royalty would be year to date, and then what the take home or net royalty is year to date, and also tells us what the total amount of deductions are year to date. So for production, as of August 2016, the total gross royalties in this year for this landowner, gross without deductions, would be $7,878. $7,878. That would be what you would receive if you had royalties without deductions, $7,878. However, the landowner took home, this says right here in the check, owner net value, owner gross value, $7,879. Total deductions, we'll do that first, we'll have some fun. Total deductions, not fun, sorry. Total deductions, $5,247. $5,247. So, of the gross, if you had royalties without deductions, you would have taken home $7,878. But no, your lease allows for deductions, and so the company has deducted $5,247, leaving you, the landowner, instead of receiving $7,878, you made $2,631. So, gross, $7,878. After deductions, $2,631. The total deductions, $5,247. Guys, this is one well. This is one well. One well, 1 year. Not even a year. Only 8 months. So, if there were 5 wells and they had the same rate, that would be, for 8 months, $25,000. For 8 months, guys. 8 months, not 8 years, 8 months. That's a lot of money. In fact, that's not 1, 2, or 3%. In my math, the total deductions of the $7,878 after they were deducting $5,247, well, that's a total of 67%. 67%. So you are left with, after deductions totaling 67%, you take home $2,631. Again, this is one well. This is only 8 months. For 8 months. So we're talking about leases that may literally last 50 to 100 years in cases. Literally. And this is 8 months. So in 8 months for one well, 8 months, one well, the deductions were $5,247. That's a lot of money, guys. So that gets factored into, what you're willing to risk and how you want to handle this. Again, not specific advice for anyone. But my God, when they tell you that deductions are 1, 2, 3%, look, here it is. Instead of getting $7,878 after deductions, you got $2,631 for one well only. 1 well only. Imagine if that was 6 wells. Imagine if we did that out for 10 years, how much money that would be. Deductions are enormous. Then throw in affiliated sales and using those index prices. Tioga County people, be prepared. It's gonna be a wake-up call for a lot of people. All right, unfortunately, we're gonna leave you with that sobering information. You are listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm going to leave you a couple great pieces of advice. Stop signing bad agreements. And please, do not rely on the company Landman to educate you and inform you. They work for the company, not you, the land owner. Give us a call. Learn about the review and consultation for any type of an agreement anywhere in the state. 570-307-0702. Have a great week, everyone.